Thank you. How hard is it to compete with AR, huh? Seriously.
As long as you have cats.
How many people do use Contentful here right now? So I want to adjust a little bit. Okay. So I want to talk about content modeling, which is basically a more or less advanced Contentful topic, because then you have to use Contentful, but I try to keep it as entry level as possible. And let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Stefan. I'm a front-end developer from Berlin. Occasionally I'm teaching CSS and Node in community events here. I'm organizing a few events. And my main focus these days is Contentful, open source, performance, and web accessibility. And I'm doing web development for 7 years. So where are we coming from? When I started web development, we had the holy WYSIWYG editor, right? What you see is what you get. Sounded awesome to me 7 years ago. Karen McGrain phrased it then at some point, though, that we never know where our content will live in the future. And we never know where it's going to be used. And the solution to that is we have to create reusable pieces, right? So in Contentful, we recently released our demo application. So this is how it looks like. And when you look at this website here, this is basically how it is structured, right? Tiny pieces that are composable and reusable. This keeps us flexible for the future. So when you think of that, it's kind of like Lego, right? Tiny, tiny pieces. How many people build something with Lego without the manual or without the instruction? How often did you succeed? More or less, yes. That's the thing. The thing with Lego is that nobody gets it right the first time, right? It's always iterations, iterations, iterations. And it's the same for content modeling. What content will I have? I don't know. I just put in some models and fill them, right? Where will they be used? And what is the perfect structure to fit my developer needs and my editor needs? And then there are changes over time, right? Another product, new changes, new content model. Okay, how do I deal with this? And I think the first approach to deal with content modeling is actually proper sharing and reusing. Writing software is hard enough, right? And I was talking to a friend from the United States. His name is Josh, and he released this project in Angular. I'm not into framework bashing, but Angular is really hard for me. And this is what he shipped with this project. So you had an NPM script, which is called init. This installs a few dependencies. And then it asks me for a space ID of my Contentful space, right? So I went over to Contentful, created a new space. The project is an Apple store. Okay, maybe that's useful when you want to kick off your e-commerce project. Maybe. And then it's also asking for a few tokens. So what you see here is the content, that's the space ID, and and the content delivery token. This is a read-only API, right? So this is what you usually use in production. This is highly scalable. It is able to handle a lot of requests. And then it's also asking for a content management API token. This is a read-write API token, which will be used, really important, right? API tokens in a public slide, delete them later. Right? And then it's doing that. It's setting up a complete Contentful space with the data I need to run his project. And then I can just kick it off using npm start. And there we go. Here we have our Apple Store. And it took me 3 minutes. And I now have a more or less cutting-edge front-end framework on my local machine with a CMS that is running in the cloud. I think this is really, really cool. And he shared the content model, which is useful for the people that want to use his project, right? So what is he using under the hood? Contentful ecosystem, right? We've got the Contentful import and Contentful export tool. And I think, so you can use export to, well, export a JSON file, and then you can reuse it with the import later. And I think we could all benefit from just sharing content models, because content modeling is actually hard. And at the end, it's just a JSON file, right? And setting up a space is really quickly done, right? You just click a button, you have a new bucket of data, and you can start fiddling around, setting up storage depending on what you need. You're really fast on that, in doing that. But then this is only true when you know what you're doing, which most of the people don't know. And this is why I believe in proper tooling and proper defaults. Who here does front-end development? There's this trend going on right now, zero config, right? Bam, one command setup, no Babel config, no React config, 2 minutes setup. I think that we can approach content modeling and CMS setup the same way. And people that know me know that I'm kind of this person. I'm eating my own dog food all the time. Who thinks that this looks like ET? Would it have worked when I would have said, ET your own dog food? Who would have got that? No? So I'm dog fooding all the time, right? So this is my personal website. It's running on Contentful. I'm not jumping onto the React train. I'm on the Vue train right now. It uses Next. And I have to say that I'm actually proud of it. I think it's really nice to work with. And the question I have for you folks now is this useful for you? The code is on GitHub, right? Should I provide the exported content models so that you can just fork it, set up your stuff, and reuse this and tweak it how you need it? Which brings me then to the question, should we maybe all start sharing content models? I mean, not every website is the same, but I would love to see how company ABC solves this issue here. So how hard could it be to share content models? Well, you see here that I'm triggering a contentful import from a gist, right? This is just a file sitting on GitHub. And this is process substitution. If you don't know that in Bash, it's really nice. So I can just curl it in, trigger the import, and I'm done in a few minutes again, right? And I talked to a few people, and we agreed that sharing code is a good thing. So we set up in our community forum a new area, which is sharing content model. So if you're running on Contentful, please let me know how we build stuff. I think this is really, really interesting. And sharing helps us to survive and build good stuff, and this is always the goal, right? So, but now you imported a good content or a big content model. Right now, you now included my content model running my private website. What's next? Well, you have to have a look at it, right? Depending on how much you import it, this can be a little bit tricky. So let's have a look at the setup here. You see landing pages and posts, and authors, and all these kind of things. And now you're starting discovering things, and you're going back and forth, and it's tiny pieces, and you don't necessarily know what is going on. And one of my favorite tools in the Contentful ecosystem that can help with that is this. It's built by a person from Berlin, Jaroslav. It's called Contentful Graph. It's an NPM package. And with this, you've got one bash command. And when you fire that up, so you see Contentful Graph and content management token, which is invalid already, right? Piping it into dot and putting it into a PNG. You want to know what my website looks like from a content perspective? It's that. I think this is super, super cool. So let's have a detailed look at what I have in there. Fancy transition, right? So I have posts, projects, events, landing pages. There are 122 authors. Today I learned posts. And this already helps me also in my daily development flow, right? Because you're bringing in data and then, okay, what was the field name again? Or what is data is in here? Console log, right? Like we all do JavaScript, console log, writing, okay, cool. This already helps me a lot. But this is now a CLI tool, and I get it. Not everybody wants to use a CLI. And Jaroslav put it even to the next level, and this is kind of unbelievable to me. He built a web app, right? So you can just set this up, put in your tokens, and then you can generate that in the browser. And gives you also some interactive stuff if you're into these. And just, then there are all the content models, dragging and dropping, really important, right? And the data that powers all that. I think this is really, really cool. So with a tool like this, you can get the big picture when you're doing content modeling. If you have 5, 10, 20, 50 different content types, this becomes extremely important to know how are all the dots, all the reusable pieces connected to each other. So now I can analyze what I have. Now it actually gets tricky, because now it's time to change. And I visualized my content model, and I discovered that it is time for cleanup. I'm working on my site. I'm working 1.5 years for Contentful now, and I'm tweaking my content model every 1 to 2 months, because I see that my needs are different now, or that I just fucked it up in the beginning, right? Was maybe a good idea, is not anymore. Remember, nobody gets it right for the first time. And my content model was not scalable at some point, and I had to tweak it. And at the end of last year, we released this tool here, which is called the Contentful Migration CLI. And this is also really, really nice, because with this, you can automate content model changes. So there are 2 different areas of changes that you can do right now. So the first one is creating a content type, deleting a content type, editing a content type, doing field operations, and changing field IDs. So with this tool at my fingertips, I had a look again. This was 1 month ago, right? And I looked at the image here. So I looked at that and was like, what? I didn't even use that for a year already. It was just there. And when I was filling in the data, I was just skipping over it, because this is how it is, right? When you're dealing with interfaces that you look at every day, there's just like, yeah, you don't have to fill that out. Yeah, you don't have to fill that out. We don't use it. And then you go to your developers and like, yeah, we don't use it. So how could I get rid of these now using a proper migration script? The way it works with the Contentful migration script, this will then have a migration object available. And then I can just say that I want to edit event and project. And then I'm deleting the field. And this is already, right? This is a written migration. This is then can be put into CI, maybe, and especially when you're dealing maybe with different spaces that have the same content model, you can script these things away. So this is how it works. So here we have the event. By the way, I don't think that this is the hotel I stayed when I was at an event. I'm not sure if this is good data for Contentful, right? So be careful, because public CDN and stuff, right? I don't know if people should be able to query that. So you fire that up, and it asks you, hey, this is what you do, cool. And then it's performing these changes for me. I think this is really, really nice. So now let's do a refresh. Cool. Then there's another problem. Again, remember, content modeling is hard. We have here 2 different content models. One includes categories and one includes tags. Same thing, basically, right? This is just when content evolves over time. So how could I do that? So I just grab the content type, I change the field ID, change the name of it, and then I'm moving stuff around, because when you change stuff, it usually goes at the bottom of the editor. So I'm just moving it up again. So it's something like that. I was also able to edit field IDs, which is really, really cool. Same dialog. And come on. It was really slow that day. And fire it up. Cool. So this is performing then the request. So you might now say, well, Stefan, this is trivial to do, right? You can go into the web interface and you change some things, and it's just a few clicks. I got that. But let me show you an example here. So I had this event content type, and I'm doing constant events now for a year, and I was entering this event for 2018. So I had now 2 events with the same country ID and the same city. This is maybe a little bit of a content model smell, right? Because you've got the same data in 2 places. And usually a conference is always in the same country and city. So I thought, maybe it makes sense to create a new content type that is then a conference, and I change these things to reference the conference, right? Makes sense, maybe. The time will show me if this was a good idea or not. So I have now 100 events in Contentful. I could do a long manual night shift, right? Create the content type, create all the events, but I don't want to do that. This means that first of all, I won't get enough sleep. I will do a lot of errors, and it's not automated. And there's no way that I'm doing 100 plus probably 95 creations, 100 updates plus 95 creations by hand. So manual content update changes are really not the solution when you want to scale and when you want your content to evolve over time. They're repetitive, error-prone, and not scalable. Which brings me to the second part of the Contentful migration CLI, which is content transformations. And I think this is even cooler than the stuff before. And now it will become a little bit more code. So let's see how this goes. So there's the functionality of device entries and links. So what I do first is I create a content type that is conference, a name, and a country and a city. So these are the 3 steps here. Then I edit the content type for the event, and I create a new field, which is a reference field to the new conference objects or entities that I will create. So it will just be a link, and now magic happens. And we will go over that step by step by step. So I grab all the events, and I will tell the script, okay, I want to use the name, the country, and the city. And I will use these to put something into the new conference field. Then I'm defining an ID. This is the ID for the new created entries that will come out of all the events. And then I'm just defining how the new structure of the new created entities will look like. And then I'm moving some stuff, and I'm cleaning up the fields that I don't need anymore on the events, right? Because the country and the city are now on the conference object and not on the event object anymore. Which means that I can use 100 events, and I can get probably 95, because they're already 2 years per event, 95 conferences. And now it gets kind of crazy. So I've got 2 the same events, right? Frontends 2017 and 2018, Poland and Warsaw. So let's kick that off. So it's again telling me, okay, you're trying to do this, and there's now a little bit more going on. So we've got the name, the country, the city, publishing the new content type, creating the new field, and then we're deriving new entries. Ready? This is a little bit speeded up. So these are request counts, right? Done. Oh, actually, it was 2 or 3 minutes, I think. And now, when I look at the same events again, I've got Frontends 2018 and Frontends. So first of all, new content type, which is conference/meetup. These then automatically were created out of these events. So the title of this was taken, then some parsing happened. And you see here, okay, that's the name, that's the country code, and that's the city. It just massively cleaned up my content model, which makes me really happy. So at the end, this means that 48 lines of code made 382 requests. I created 88 new entries, and I updated 96 entries. And this is what I want to do when I have content in production, right? When I want to evolve over time. So thanks to the migration CLI, I can automate stuff that are, well, I can repeat operations, right? When you have several buckets of data and you want to do the same thing, depending on what you want to do, you want to script that. You don't want to click 5 actions in the UI in different spaces, definitely not. You can keep scripts and version control. It includes this little sanity checks, right? This, are you sure you want to do this? And it's perfect for continuous integration. Remember, nobody gets it right the first time, right? But I think the ways to survive proper content modeling are when we start sharing and reusing content modeling, we always have a deep look at the stuff we do, and then we evolve the content models and the changes over time. Then with the right tools, at some point, everything will be perfect, and that's always the goal, right? Yeah, and that's it.